This time we're in our tile showroom.
Yeah.
I'm super excited about this one, guys.
Up you go.
Yeah.
All right. It's time for the orange stuff. So.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel.
Welcome back.
So it's a pretty chilly one outside today.
Yeah, like our pond's frozen.
Yes, and we had
That's
some
cold.
thoughts of what we were gonna do, and we're like, I don't know.
Nothing outside.
So today we're working on
Sheetrock mud.
I'm super excited about this one, guys.
We've got some sheetrock clip to a picture of that right now, if you like. Oh wait. Yeah. And we put a pergola in our house 4 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah, and I had to cut some openings in the sheetrock in the living room, so I could put some bracing on the wall so it could tie to the house properly, and then we had to run some electrical into it. And I carefully cut my pieces and put them back in, and I think they're almost seamless. Like, you can't really notice them unless you're looking for them, but she's insisting.
Except for every person who comes over and says, what's going on with the boxes?
Oh, well, so maybe they're more noticeable than I think. I try to keep the lights low in that room. But anyways, she's been asking, can you please, she said, at least teach me how to do sheetrock work, so I can do it.
Yeah.
So today we're going to do, and I am in no way a sheetrock master, but I am adequate at the sheetrock work that I do.
He's pretty good.
I can get it out pretty quick, and I can get it laid down nice, and there's two different fields of thought on sheetrock, and I'll just say this quickly. Some people think you just gob it all on, as thick as you can, then you sand it to shape. No. I like to, multiple thin layers is the way I like to approach it. So I like sanding is not your friend because of the dust, because of the time, because of the complaints about dust. So I like to sand as little as possible.
To be honest, I'm allergic to the sheetrock dust.
She is.
It causes migraines.
But she's about to become a sheetrock master in her own mind.
I am going to become the sheetrock guru.
Oh boy.
And
People that do sheetrock for a living, please don't take offense. She's joking.
And I seriously think I can be really good at this.
She thinks she has the finesse because she's a very good painter.
Finesse. Yeah.
And she's like an eye for detail, and
yeah.
She's got the skills required, and
I think I'm going to be good at this.
We'll see how she does.
I'm either going to be really, really good at this, or I'm really, really going to suck at it.
Either way, I'll fix it. All right, so step one, corner bead. We put it here on the outside corner. When you're putting corner bead on, it does have a little bit of a spring to it. What's important is you want to make sure that your corner bead, if you look at it from the side here, is out beyond your sheetrock. This is the area you're going to fill with mud. Okay, if you don't have a gap in here, if it's sitting like this and your gap's up tile, you're going to have a problem. Top doesn't make as much a difference on our application because we're putting a curved piece up here, but on this face, we got to make sure that we've got gap in here when we nail this on, because we're going to go from here to here. That little gap is where our mud's going to sit. And like I say, if you've got it sitting where it's not sitting flat and you've got that, it'll never look good. All right, so up here at the corner, I like to make my corners where it's one solid piece so this piece stays intact and holds the corner together a little bit better. I don't have enough length to go all the way down, but I can put a seam down there. So just going to snip in here. And again, everybody does this a little bit different. Everybody thinks their way is the right way. I'm not going to say my way is the right way, because I'm sure somebody could show me something else that makes just as much sense. So I don't argue about things like that. It's just kind of however you were taught, however you were trained. And I'm sure the person that taught or trained you had a great reason for doing it that way. So I'm just going to fold that over. So you see how that tucks under? When I put my nails in there, I'll just tap that flat. But this corner will stay intact now, more so than if you were to put, say, cut this angle on this piece here, and then cut another angle on this piece going down here. You know, once it's covered in mud, it's solid, but you got a good chance of somebody catching their shirt on that, their jacket on that on the way in or out of the project, and pulling it off on you before it's even dried up. So I just like to do this because I think it holds together better. I want you to look down here. This is where I'm talking about. I think you can see as my piece comes down here, if I was to roll out like that and I'm touching this metal before I'm hitting that edge, that will never look right. It has to be rolled in. Can you see the difference there? You roll it in like that and you get the gap from the corner. The metal should be your furthest out right point.
So James, we chose metal corner bead.
Yes.
Can you explain why we did that?
Okay, yeah, so they make a plastic version of this as well. And I actually like the plastic version a lot. And the difference between the plastic version and the metal version is, a lot of times you see the guys put the metal version on with, I've seen them doing it lately with those cordless staplers. And they just staple, staple, staple. And it goes on really nice and quick. I don't have a cordless stapler, so I'm doing it old school. You use the small nail, you see these big holes, there's little holes. The little holes, that's where your nails go in. The big holes, that's where the sheetrock mud goes through and actually bonds to the surface below it. And then this waffling here is what kind of makes the sheetrock mud stick to it. On the plastic ones, they don't have the waffling. Instead, it's just nothing but holes all the way through it. And that makes it stick quite nicely. Because once you get a kink in that, get a nice gap all the way up there. When you're driving your nails in, you want to sink the nail just a little bit so it doesn't stick out through the mud. But if you pull it in too tight, you're going to make it pucker above and below that nail because you're bending it and putting too much pressure on the metal. And that's not going to be fun. All right, the new master of the trade is at it. Our first piece of corner bead. So I already figured out the length of here and cut it to length for. The reason I did that is because she was to put it on here and then try to make this cut to fold it down. Start with this side here. And try to fold it down, there'd be too much metal. And so I'm gonna let you start with the side like this here. Because what I've got is I've got a little extra and it'll tuck underneath there.
Okay.
So start with side. And let's see how she does here, folks. Pretty excited.
So I just determine where I'm gonna snip.
Mm-hmm.
And do I do it right at?
You're gonna do it on the face over here.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so a lot of times what I do is I'll just run my snippers in to mark it, and then I cut my two triangles out.
Okay.
You can cut your two triangles at the same time, but I just usually snip it.
So just a little
shorter. A little shorter. There you go.
All the way.
No, all the way. Yeah. There you go. Good. Nice. Now what you want to do is you want to snip out your bottom triangle and your top triangle. And they don't have to be the way you're doing it. If you just fold it over, this one will tuck behind that one or vice versa. It's just I like to get the extra material of it. So they don't need to be a true 45 for it to work.
Okay. Am I good?
Yep. Go for it. Look at that precision cut. Nice. All right, folks. You're seeing it live right here. First cut. Corner bead. Excellent.
Okay.
Now, if you put it on, you want something square to bend it against so that your bend doesn't go crooked on you. So now if you tuck this piece up underneath here, come right to where your bend is, right there, and then just fold that down. That's getting it. Oh yeah. Okay, and then at the bottom, you're just gonna make sure it's tucked over. And it looks like we got to take just a hair off that bottom piece.
Yeah, because it's lifting it.
Yep. She does all the editing for the show, so anything she doesn't like, she's going to cut out. Let's try that again. Lays up in there, tucks underneath the sheetrock there, which that little gap is for. And then, look at that. All right, so the next process is fiber tape. That seam up there, that seam there, to me are prime candidates for fiber tape. First thing I like to do is take my 4-inch knife and just kind of scrape the seam. Just make sure there's nothing hanging out that's going to hold this whole seam up. The idea of fiber tape, it has a very, very light adhesive on the back side of it. It's usually strong enough to hold itself to the wall, and that's about it. Don't get too far ahead with this step. We're going to do that again. Don't get too far ahead with this step, as this stuff tends to just fall off the wall with a good stiff breeze. It's not exactly great adhesive. It's just meant to hold it in place while you get the mud on it. So hold it with the knife, rip it. That's how you do that. I see people chasing this thing around with a utility knife and the strings are coming out. What kind of looks like the first time I tried to cut it. Okay, so I tend not to soften my mud from the get-go. I know a lot of guys do, and I know a lot of guys use a box and that sort of thing. For me, just seems like it's one more thing to clean up. I don't know. I really got the advantage of the box. So
What's the advantage of softening it?
well, it does flow a little bit better.
Okay.
And I do tend to do that with my later coats, but with my heavy coat, it's water-based. So the more moisture you have that needs to evaporate for it to dry, the longer it takes. So if you put it on, if you wet it down and thin it out a lot, what you're going to find is that it just takes longer to dry.
Okay.
So I like to make sure my tape's covered like that, good, solid. You want to be careful you're not rubbing on that fiber too much because you can wear through the fibers. Just going to put a decent coat of mud on there like that. I'm going to come around to my screw holes. Just going to give those a little fill in. I'm not going to worry about the ones at the top, frankly, because we're putting crown molding up in here. Actually, we got some ideas about some beams and some.
So we might not do crown.
We might not do crown, but if either way, we're going to put a layer of sheetrock over here because we want to get rid of all this texture off the side. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to get rid of the mud that's on my trowel. I leave a little bit of mud on my trowel just because I like a little bit of material to work with. Try not to work with dry tools. And now what I want to do is I just want to flavor that out just a little bit to either side. See the low spot here?
Yes.
When you have enough mud on there, you have a pretty nice look like that. Do both sides. All right, so walk us through how you're going to approach this.
So I'm going to start with my fiber tape here, and it's got a slight adhesive to it, so I'm going to stick it to the wall.
Oh, boy.
Do I sound like James?
No. What's the first thing we do?
First thing I do is knock off any edges.
There you go. So just if there's anything high.
Knock off any edges.
And then,
Now I'm going to take my fiber tape.
yep. I would have your 4-inch knife in your hand
Okay.
because it's going to make it easier to cut it.
All right. And I'm going to lay it across the seam like
You are,
so.
yes, absolutely. Centered up. Oh, look at how nice it is. See, and the adhesive is just kind of enough to hold it in place.
And
Yeah,
I'm
just
going to
come a little
stop it
ways
at the
in.
sheetrock.
You can come in a little further. It won't bother anything. It's going to get behind the schlitter.
Okay, so like there's
Yeah.
good.
Now put your sheetrock knife up there, nice and hold it really tight, and then one quick jerk.
One quick jerk.
Oh, folks, you did better than me on the first try. Look at that.
Okay.
Good job. There you go. There's your tape. That's your mesh tape.
All right. And then I'm going to take this. And I'm going to put some mud,
Yep.
right?
A hawk. I think they call it a hawk. The little tray that's got a little stem on it, and they hold on to it. To me, you use a 4-inch knife and you use the hawk, and then you get the 4-inch knife down and get the 8-inch knife. And so I just have one knife in each hand.
Okay.
And I'm sure there's a reason why they do that. It's something that's never stuck with me as a habit. Okay, that's good. Getting that smeared on there good. You're kind
Now, do I go
of
this way?
layering it on there. You're not trying to scrape it off so much with the 4-inch knife. Yep. There you go. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, either way. What you're trying to do with the 4-inch knife, and the way I do it, is I try to put material on the wall with a 4-inch knife.
Okay.
And I'm going to use my 8-inch knife to actually smooth it.
Okay. So
Okay.
material on the wall. Good.
Yep. Yep, that's good.
Okay.
Now I clean that off your 8-inch knife and then layer just a little bit more on there.
Okay.
What we're going for is we're going for that look where you come out 8 inches on either side of the joint, so you're 16 inches wide.
So I
right
put
here,
more mud on
we're about 5 inches wide.
So-
Put a little bit more mud on the edge of that. There you go. I just don't like to work with dry tools.
Okay. And do I go this way or
Yeah.
this
No,
way?
the other way.
This
Yeah.
way.
Same way as the
With the
tape
tape.
runs.
Okay.
Yep. You're running that way the joint.
With the grain.
Yeah. If you try to go the other way, you're going to end up rolling the tape back off the joint.
Gotcha.
There you go. You're seeing it? So you can see how you've got material here, and then here you don't have material.
So I want material.
You want material there. You want material all the way up, about 16 inches wide with this first pass. There you go. Now see here, this is what you're going to see when it gets painted if it's not smoothed over. So we don't want to go like that with the knife. There you go. Now you're getting it. Nice. It's looking pretty good for your first pass here. Now, good, good. You say if it gets a little thick up here, this is where sanding happens. Down here, we're a little thick here, but see how I can still see a hollow spot there? That means it's going to need a little bit more mud. Like a pro. Okay, I'd leave it just like that.
Okay.
If you,
Once again, our supervisor is, well, she's just thrilled. Jade, what do you think? Are we doing a good job? Yep.
Okay, our next transition here is an inside corner. Inside corner, you do a paper tape. Now, let's get a little run there. Some people will say you can use fiber tape. It's not easy. I wouldn't do it. If you use fiber tape, that's okay. Go ahead, use fiber tape. I mark it like that, just gonna walk down the wall of the corner. I just tear it off like this. It's got a natural score mark in it, so I score it. That's my height. I'm gonna lay it up here for a second. We're not done with it yet. Then I'm gonna take the sheetrock mud, again, put it on my medium knife. Then I'm gonna work it into that joint all the way down, making sure that joint's getting filled up with mud, because I want it to dry solid back there. This is where some guys will try to use that fancy inside corner tool that I was showing you. And I've never been, I don't know, I'm sure it's a great tool once you master it. I've just never been good with it. It's never worked for me. So my corners might take me a little bit longer, but the way I do my corner is I get one corner great today, and then when I put my second coat on, I go back for the second corner. If I run this down here and get that beautiful, when I run it down this side here, I cut it out back out of the corner. It's hard to keep both sides cut nice and not rub out with one side. I like to take I have some water in the sink drain with me. I like to take my paper tape and I always wet it. Okay, you just have to keep a bucket of water. We didn't get any water from outside because, well, it's so cold, but kind of wring out that excess water. I like to put the paper tape on dry. If you put a paper tape on wet, if you put it on dry, come back the next day and you got little puckers where it's lifting off and stuff. I just found that when you put it on wet like this, it just helps it stick better. And when you see these guys that do this for a living do it, they've got this thing they wear on their belt that the tape comes out of, and it actually puts mud on the tape. And that's how they wet it with sheetrock mud. I have one of those fancy tools. So get it up in the corner like that, and you can see it's starting to ripple on me because it's a little bit wet. So again, don't like a dry tool. So I just like to take a little bit of mud, just push it down in the corner. All right.
Okay, so I'm doing this top corner.
Correct.
This top inside corner. So I'm going to determine how long my tape needs to be, right?
Yep.
And I'm going to stop at the sheetrock.
Yep. Yeah, because the tile will come up just a little bit above that.
Okay.
So stop at the sheetrock.
Can I just tear it?
You can just tear it. And then I'll take the roll from you so it doesn't fall.
Okay.
All right.
And I'm going to pass this to you.
You can put a chunk crease in it. There you go. Very nice. Good, good.
Make sure I'm good, right?
Yep. Looks nice.
Yeah?
Excellent.
Okay, I'm going to pass this to you so you can soak it.
Okay. And it's not soaking. It's just a gentle passing through the water.
Okay.
But yeah. Okay, so you got your a bit of a stretch there. You got it all right?
Yep.
Okay.
So I'm using this, right?
Yep.
To put mud.
And the first coat for the corner, the tape on the corners, I only use the 4-inch knife.
Okay.
I don't get into the 8-inch knife until after it's set up and I've got a strong and solid corner.
Gotcha. So I'm feeding mud here.
Yep.
Right?
All the way down. And you're going to have to get a little finesse for it where you're pushing the knife hard enough against the wall so that it's leaves some mud there,
Yeah.
but not so hard that you're scraping it all off.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of a balancing act of, this is where you get a feel for it comes in. Yeah, you're leaving a nice coat there like that.
Okay.
See that texture in the ceiling? Yeah, that's all gotta go away. That's actually after we scraped it down with the sheetrock knife and some 80 grit sandpaper.
We did the entire front hall. We did the entire front TV room, living room, dining room, and kitchen.
Yeah.
And decided no more.
No more, we're
it
done.
It was so hard, and it's not popcorn, it's stippling.
It's literally sheetrock mud that they put up with a brush. And the people, there's different ways to do it. And some guys do it very nicely where they leave very little sheetrock mud behind. You get a very nice texture to it. Some guys just pack it on. I like to call them stalactites. I think that's the geological term for them.
With cobwebs on them.
Yes.
Okay, is that good?
Right. I was just looking up there. I think you did a great job. You got the rest of the screw holes. You got your corner piece done. I think it looks great. Good job.
Thank you.
We're going to jump down here onto corner bead now. When you're doing corner bead, it's going to take a little bit more mud. So I tend to put it on with the larger notch trowel, the larger sheetrock trowel, just because it's just faster. I mean, you lay it on there with a 4-inch, but it's just going to take a while.
So you put quite a bit on
I
your...
put quite a bit on my knife, and I'm working it in, and I'm making sure that I don't have air pockets behind it. It's easy to, when you're putting it on this thick, it is easy to run across it and just trap a little bit of air underneath there. Like, see up in there? You want to make sure that's worked into the metal. All right, she's in the bucket. And I said, look right there.
So I'm going to put a big blob on, right?
She is, yep. Now be careful, it can get away from you and just flop on the floor
So
too.
maybe I should go up?
Yep.
Ooh, probably not like that though.
This will take a minute to get used to it. Looking for.
Yeah. I'll get to that. Figuring out where my knife needs to be.
Hello.
Hello. Can I help you with something?
Well, I'm here to hopefully pick up some tile for my master bath remodel project.
I'd be happy to help you with that.
Awesome. Let's get started.
Let's.
This time we're in our tile showroom.
Yeah.
And we
What
get
do you
to
do?
do what?
Pick out some tile for our master bath floor,
Yes.
the heated floor system.
Yes.
We need to look at cabinet colors because we're going to stain a cabinet and we need to decide what color palette we're going to go with
We were
there.
on the fence of stain or paint.
Yeah. And then we've got
We need our shower tile.
shower
floor
tile, countertops, cabinet hardware, faucets, sinks. There's so much that goes into a master bath remodel, and we really like to get a good coverage of everything. We don't want to just talk about the tile. We want to make sure that we understand your entire bathroom when we do stuff. We're obviously doing our own bathroom, so we're going to pick everything out. But even when clients come in, we really like to know, like, what granite are you going with, what countertops, what cabinets, what faucets.
We had an idea of what we wanted to do for our bathroom, but we decided to add beams. And now I'm kind of doubting what
Wooden
we're
beams
doing.
in the ceiling.
Yes.
We wanted to give the ceiling doesn't have a lot of, there's no architectural detail to it at all. We don't have any crown molding, we don't have anything exciting going on in the ceiling, so we wanted to give the ceiling a little bit of something. And we've talked about beams. We talked about wooden beams. They could be sheetrock beams, they could be wooden beams. We have to figure out what it is we want to do with the ceiling. Again, very limited options, so start there, pick other things for next.
Yeah. So knowing about the beams, I'm not sure that the direction we were going with the tile is actually going to work with that.
Okay.
So let's go through the showroom and we're going to pull what we had come up with. And this is design 327 out of 4,270,000.
We literally have every tile almost in the world available to us. We
It's
can go with
hard to
anything.
decide.
We're
Okay, so this is what we had chosen. James, if you want to kind of explain.
Well, I think this tile here was going to be for the floor of the bathroom and the floor of the shower.
Correct.
Okay.
The 24 by 48.
And a lot of people say, you can't do a 24 by 48 on a shower floor. Yeah, you can. And we'll show you how. And it'll have proper pitch to the drain. It'd be awesome. This was kind of a cabinet color idea. Obviously not this style.
Not at all, yeah.
Much plainer style. But that's sort of a color. This, I believe, was the two end walls and the knee wall.
Yes.
And this was the big wall in the back where the plumbing is.
Yes.
And that's very geometrical in that the texture goes every which way. Mm-hmm. And then this here, and obviously the camera's picking up, it's got like a grid pattern in it. It feels like a linen. It's got a little grid pattern in it. And then we went with the brushed nickel for the hardware.
Yes. So the idea was to do a darker floor, which is completely different than what we currently have.
kind of keeping the side walls simple, and that's the bench wall too. Yeah, the bench wall and then that side wall.
The two end walls. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the two end walls and the knee walls.
Right. The window wall, doing it in the dimensional textured pieces. So let's talk a little bit about why I'm having a couple of doubts. Okay, so the reason I'm having a couple of doubts is just I'm not sure that I want beams and a texture wall. But seeing it together, I think it might be okay. What are your thoughts?
Well, the beams are going to be smooth beams. They're not going to be like a rough hewn beam.
Right.
Smoother than the one in our living room, I'm thinking.
Yes,
yeah.
more finished.
Like almost like a finish.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think it'll actually be okay.
Okay.
And I think if we keep the beams kind of the same wood tone finish that we're doing the cabinets in, I think it would work.
Okay.
So I
like it. Do you want to wander around the showroom a little bit, see if there's anything else that grabs our attention that might work with us?
Let's do one more loop around the... Yeah, one more peruse.
Okay.
See what we see. So we're kind of doubting the pattern, right?
Yeah, looking at pictures on the back of the sample boards, then I'm like, it's not the look I was going for. So now I'm just trying to like, okay, let me sketch this out real quick. So you kind of get this checkerboard of a square and a square, and then this would be another square up here like this. But remembering, when you're doing pattern work, if your pattern doesn't repeat enough times because you've got obstructions like windows and ceilings and walls, and you don't repeat enough times, then the pattern doesn't make sense. It just looks like you missed the goal. So, you know, a lot of people want to do a herringbone pattern in their backsplash with a big tile. Well, it doesn't repeat enough times for people to look at it and say, oh, that's a herringbone. And so now it just looks like it's a bunch of tiles going every which way. So pattern repeat is very important when you're trying to decide what you want to do. Right. And when I was looking at the size of the tile, at 24 by 48, you don't have very many tiles, so there's not a lot of pattern repeat. But I'm kind of digging this a little bit better now that I've drawn it out and sketched it out.
There's one other way to look at this too.
Yeah. Okay, so the other way to do this is jump on the computer.
And this is what I do for clients who have a hard time visualizing. So what we did is we just went into the vendor website, just did a quick snip of the tile itself, and then started playing around with it, manipulating it on the screen. So our wall would hold...
That'd be one tile. This 2 foot by 4 foot tile.
That's 1, 2, 3, right?
Yeah, so that's not quite to scale, but that big white spot represents where the window would sit.
Mm-hmm. So I'm pretty happy with the pattern and the way it repeats. What about you?
Yeah, I think there's enough repeat in there. It's got a funny little optical shift to it. Something's kicking out on me there. This might be one where we just need to order in 6 of these tiles, lay them out on the floor and look at them, see if we like them. Sometimes it's just what you have to do. So, all right, just another way to approach this, a different solution for the same problem.
Not in the bathroom today.
Oh, wow. We're not.